And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to the first defeated edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After UConn. Yesterday afternoon, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to get defeated by UConn 77-57, taking IU to 3-1 on the season. Really a final score that doesn't really represent the game to me. Obviously, IU battled a good amount of this game, and leading up to this game even, we didn't know if we were going to have X. We didn't know the status of Xavier Johnson. We could see all the videos and stuff on YouTube of him out there in uniform practicing. Injury report had him as questionable. So obviously he was still rehabbing, still dealing with something. But it obviously made us feel better when we saw him in the starting lineup announced and out there and everything. But all that got nullified when X got those quick 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes, under 3 minutes of this game. And then despite that, I will say, though, IU did battle in the first half and kept it pretty close. Runs back and forth here and there. IU had some decent shots at the beginning of the game that just didn't go down for them. That kind of put them in a hole. And UConn, at one point in the first half, takes their lead up to 14, kind of making it feel like we were in trouble. But IU kind of closes out that first half, going on a 9-2 run and taking IU just down by 7 at halftime. And honestly, making me at least feel like we still had a chance. And in the second half, battled for most of it, but it was kind of at a point in the game in the second half when it was 50-43 that kind of personified and kind of put the nail in the coffin for IU. IU gets a turnover from great D by CJ Gunn, and we'll talk about him because I thought he had a fantastic game. Ball kind of dribbled out towards Ware picks it up, mishandles it. UConn is able to take it away, goes for a shot, misses it, and then UConn rebounds it, and on the rebound, Malik fouls and gets his 4th foul. And from there, it was pretty much done in the game. For me, this game overall, it just kind of comes down to focus and execution with this team. And they've got the talent there, and the execution just on the offensive and defensive side just isn't quite there yet. And some of that has to fall a little bit on the staff as well. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I think a mixture does. They need to force these guys to get into some actions and get guys better looks. And what we're seeing right now, at least on the offensive side, is a lot of standing. And it just hasn't been anything run as we get later in the game. We start the game off well. We start running some good screen plays, some other things, but they get lazy on offense. And we do that dribble handoff, that weave that we see, and they're just kind of jogging through that when they need to hustle through that to get the opponent's team into rotation issues, and just want to see the guards get downhill as well. The guards get less aggressive and everything as we go. And Coach Woodson hasn't said it yet this year, but I'm going to say it. This team needs to get over the hump. There is a mental hump there this year that they just cannot find themselves to get over. But again, this is a high caliber UConn team, and IU was in it. IU was there and had a chance to take this game, but unfortunately, that's not where it ended up. I'm your host, Chad Schwartzkopf. Here with me always is Martha the Mop Lady. Martha, tonight, with a lot less echo. We finally figured that out. Apologies for the last couple episodes, and especially apologies to Martha for not figuring those things out, but we finally got that ironed out. So, Martha, your unechoed thoughts on this game.
Yes, thank you, Chad. Appreciate you getting that fixed. Nice not to hear myself, but thanks for troubleshooting that anyway. Yeah, I think all in all, it was, it was nice to hang. Yeah, it was nice to compete. All the stuff that I think we did leading into halftime was good to see. But at the end of the day, it's the same. I think the same issues we've seen in the first 3 games kind of reared their ugly head, if you will, in this game, especially in the second half, right? I mean, we just, our defensive efficiency, our defensive effort, it's not good enough. We're gifting teams easy shots. We've fallen to 77 in Ken Palm already, and I don't think we've been we've been in that area for a while, since the Archie Miller tenure, I think. And so, yeah, we're 4 games in, so the data points are what they are. But at the same time, we're there for a reason, right? You start the season in the 50s and you're in the 70s already. That's not a great start. And we've now faced 3 teams missing a starting guard that averaged double figures in points, and 2 of those games we had to scratch and claw to even get a win. And yesterday we know what happened. So yeah, I think, we look back to start the season, we're like, man, we're adding 2 5-star guys, right? We're adding a lot of talent, and we're replacing an All-American. But I think that kind of overshadowed the fact that, what are we going to do about perimeter play? And there's a big opportunity there. And I don't you look at our roster today and you're like, you mentioned getting over the hump, and what we're missing there. How do we get over that hump with the roster we have? It's leaving me scratching my head, because we talk all the time. It's a guards game, right? Guards are going to carry you through March. You need bigs to battle in the Big Ten, but ultimately, if you want to make a run late in the year, you're going to have to rely on your guard play, and we have got a long way to go, both there and defensively. So, yeah, not a lot of answers. It's tonight's game. It scares me, because we drop that game, and then you're going to have a fan base that's all sorts of cranky. But yeah, just want to see some progress, specifically defensively, because I think that's one we can control. That is one, we control effort, we control intensity, we control being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So that's something we've got to figure out, that effort side of it. So yeah, a little disappointed in yesterday, especially with how we finished. Another opportunity tonight, though.
Yep. And keeping along that theme there, and at least going maybe a little bit positive with it, some of that guard play, I think answers can come from a guy that I think had one of the best games we've seen from him this year so far, and that's CJ Gunn. He was in there, I believe, for 20 minutes, I think is what he ended up playing in this game. Yep, 20 minutes. And while we didn't see the offensive click for him per se, he just finished with 7 points, 2 for 7 from the field, missed all 3 threes that he took, and 3 for 4 from the field. Defensively, he was locked down. I mean, he was great on ball, wasn't fouling. While he did finish with 3 fouls, I think that's fine with a guy that was as aggressive as he was with it. I liked what I saw from him. Yes, the ball didn't go in the hoop for him, but I think he's just off that cusp. I mean, he's one of those hump guys, definitely, where if he can just see a 3 go down, I think that's going to do wonders for him overall. But I like the minutes that we got out of him. And honestly, talking about it even more, and we'll talk about the counterpoint there, I'm almost even saying maybe he deserves a little starting go, because the numbers that I see from him is something that we were wanting to see from Mackenzie. And maybe we need to have a replacement for a little bit until Mackenzie gets up to speed and everything, and we'll go deeper in on him. But I do like what CJ is doing, and I want to hopefully build on that, and I hope he gets a lot more run and minutes in this game. What were your thoughts on CJ?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is we need CJ Gunn. I mean, we have no choice but for him to step up. He's a sophomore now. It's that hump. It just find a way, get over it, right? And I think part of that, like you said, comes from getting those minutes, right? And the other bottom line is I think Inside Hall or somebody made the tweet that he's 2 for 27 on 3-point shots. So maybe it's just connecting on one that's going to, open things up for him, because the kid can shoot. We know that, right? He can shoot, and it just hasn't translated into gameplay. And quite simply, we need it to. We need, and it was nice to see him play a bit better defensively yesterday, because I think at times he's been a little bit lost out there in the minutes that he has gotten defensively. So, yes, he needs to bring that, but when we're lacking what we're lacking on the perimeter right now from an offensive standpoint, and a guy with his offensive skill set, no, you don't want him to come in there and look shot first. You want him to play within the system and let the offense come to him. But he's got to be a guy that knocks down some shots for us, especially with the way the offense is playing thus far on the perimeter. So I think tonight's another opportunity, like you mentioned, for him to potentially get some minutes. And man, I just want to see that first one go down, because I think if it does, it's going to help out with his confidence. We're going to see him make some more. But man, it's there's been a lid on the basket for him so far. So hopefully we can get that going. And I think he can continue to be, play some increased minutes and contribute where we need him to.
He's got an aggression in the guard spot that I think is lacking. That next click of gumption to just kind of take his own shot and find his own shot and kind of get going, that I think I miss from Trey in moments in games. Not to say that Trey doesn't do it at all, but just moments in the game that I miss from him. So I really think that he can be a way moving forward for IU, and I'm very hopeful in that. And speaking of the counterpoint that I just mentioned was Mackenzie, and he got ripped apart in this game by Jay Williams, and Jay was right. I mean, I'm still hopeful for Mackenzie to figure it out, but the just overall basketball IQ part of his game is just what is lacking. It's those freshman struggles. It just appears to be the case with him in his whole basketball career. He's been able to kind of rely on the fact that he just is dominant in skills, size, and just athleticism overall. And when he was younger, he didn't have to rely on the IQ part of it. He didn't have to rely on it like someone like Trey Galloway would, or other players. And that's most evident in players when they make that leap to college, because that skill and athleticism gets kind of leveled out. And that's a majority of the time what those freshman struggles are that you hear about and see and everything. And it's just really been magnified for Mackenzie. And I hope he can find it, and I hope he can figure it out. And it's obviously really evident on the defensive end, and it's also evident on the offensive side. And again, I'm going to continue to say it as well. I'm going to put that a little bit on the coaching staff as well, because they need to figure out plays and run things for him, like a CJ Gunn type, run things for them. These are types of players that once they see it go in, could benefit on the other side. Your thoughts on the continued struggles from Mackenzie?
I really thought, just with the skill set he brought offensively, and I'm no basketball coach, but just watching some of the tape on him, that's a guy that can contribute double figure scoring, this season. And when you take that out of the equation and you add to the fact that he's lost defensively, that's a problem, right? Because you already look at what we're lacking on the perimeter, and then you're trying to replace a guy like Trace Jackson Davis, and you expect him to fill some of that void, and it's not happening. It's we're always talking about that hump, but I agree with you when it seems like we're running the same stuff we were running last year when we had an All-American, except we don't have an All-American to run it through. So how do you get creative with some of the guys that we do have and set them up to succeed? Because obviously, I don't know, it's a lack of confidence, a lack of never playing at this level. Maybe it's a combination of all of that. But I mean, it just looks like trying to go through motions offensively. You mentioned just, setting up, running that lazy weave. I'm not saying it's lazy. It just appears lazy, right? Because it's just, jogging through it. And then all of a sudden, man, we've got a shot clock winding down. We better hurry up and get a shot off. And it just doesn't look like it's well run at all. And then defensively, we've talked about that. It's just, and so it's nobody's getting any momentum or any confidence in Malik. I mean, if he can't play, he had 2 points yesterday, and if that's all he's giving us offensively, and not playing defense, then it's hard to keep him on the court, right? And
that's why I say the CJ switch, maybe.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just concerned there, because I mean, all the skill set in the world, right? But how do you flip that switch to where you're engaged on both ends of the court, and so. Yeah, we keep talking about, hopefully we're not here 2 games from now still talking about it, but here we are 2 games, 2 games down the road still talking about it. So, yeah, thankfully it's a short turnaround time, and guys have another opportunity tonight.
Well, and the question could become with Mackenzie is that he's playing at the 3, and is he can play the three, but he's got to figure these things out. Otherwise, he's truly probably better suited at the four, and everything. So that may be an avenue where if things don't turn around, this coaching staff might have to make that hard decision, and he may be on the bench coming in for Malik, being the first off the bench for him, and they may have to start trying him at the four and see what it is, and play a true 4 out. He can still come out, and he'll just be better served defensively as well against the other team's 4. Maybe that's a possible solution that this coaching staff is going to have to explore, and we're going to have to find at one point. But if it does click and we can get him going at the 3, maybe that's hopefully where he can be. IU's best player offensively, at least right now, and was last night in the game, was Malik Renew. He scored 19 points, was 7 of 9 from the field. Fantastic. Made all of his free throws. Didn't attempt a 3 in this game. Again, I would like him to try to attempt one, at least, if I'm being bullish. The few negatives in his game was obviously the 2 lingering things that just continue to kind of diminish his overall performance, and that's his foul issues. Fouled out in this game, and as I mentioned at the top, committed a foul in a tough situation and a very important part of the game, and as well on defense. He continues to be a guy that gets caught ball watching, gets lost on these kind of screen plays and doesn't know whether he's staying with his guy, and just kind of lingers. There's kind of like a lag moment for him if you watch him on defense in these switches or these screen opportunities where he doesn't continue with his man, he doesn't fully commit to the switch, and that causes breakdowns that just compound from there. And then as well, the other thing I'm going to say that is lacking from him that I'd like to see him get a little more bullish on is his rebounding. Just finished with 3 defensive rebounds. Your thoughts on Malik's game?
I thought in the first half, I mean, he kind of put us on his back a bit, and even when it appeared maybe he was trying to force some things. I mean, we needed him to, right? I mean, he kind of carried us, and he looked all apart, I think, in that game. And I think when we talk about any bright spots to come out of that game, yeah, we competed in the first half. It was nice to see us kind of, because I thought the one thing we haven't talked about, I didn't think the officiating did us any favors, right? There was, they certainly were the aggressor, but man, there were times where it felt like we were getting called for some of the same stuff that they were continuously doing. And so I didn't think that did us any favors. And Malik is a guy that's never gotten the benefit of the doubt with the whistle. So no surprise that he got into foul trouble with a game called like that. But what he was able to do offensively, I thought, especially continues against top competition, right? UConn, defending national champs, right? We've got to remember who we're playing. But for him to go out against a team that size, go 7 of 9 from the field, yeah, you would have loved to see him get some more rebounds. But man, just to see him and 4 for 4 from the free throw stripe, right? That's a definite bright spot for him. But I love the energy he came out with. I love the fact that he went right at a team like UConn. When we're scratching and clawing for answers offensively, really, really happy with how he played. And if we can start getting those other switches to click a little bit, with him, I mean, so there is there's some bright side to come out of this, right? I mean, a lot of season left, and the fact that he's answering all the questions we had about him. Can he stay on the court? I think there's times he's going to be in foul trouble just because of his size, right? And we're going to have to figure out how to play around that. But he's finding the way to stay on the court in longer spells, contribute offensively. And right now, I think he's been our best player. Him and Khalil Ware, he had a little bit of a tough time yesterday. I know we're going to get into him, but, I'm really happy with how Malik has played to start this season.
Yeah, and the foul issue, I was a little aggravated with it as well. And again, I've never used it as an excuse. It's never the bad reffing. It's never an excuse, but it can be a contributing factor. And the part that kept getting to me was on offense. About every screen from UConn, at least in my eyes, and maybe comment below in the video or wherever, or hit me up on Twitter if I'm completely off on this, but it just looked like every single screen that UConn set was illegal. All their bigs had the widest legs in their screens and held their legs out to kind of caught a piece of our guards as they were trying to fight through, or you saw a lot of hips kicking out as well. And that was a little aggravating on my on the end, and it was just inconsistent as well. Not to say, obviously, that the foul called when you look at the stat sheet is unbalanced or anything like that, but just inconsistencies can cause teams to struggle to find rhythm when you're calling it one way on one side and not calling it fully, or at one point you're calling in the game something a foul and then you don't later on. It just doesn't allow the flow of the game to continue like it should. And again, not an excuse, but a contributing factor in this game. And another guy from that foul issues, I would say, getting fouled. A lot didn't get called on him and struggled underneath was Ware. Struggling against, obviously, another big man. We were kind of saying leading up, he kind of got his own feast just because he was dominantly bigger than any of the guys that we've seen so far. And this is the first game where he had a true big test with a guy his size, added a little bit more weight, I think, against him as well, and a little more college experience. And he did struggle against it. Only made 2 shots, and those were his 2 3-pointers that he made. I think he needs to face up against big guys. I think he's got a lot more skills with the ball that he can use against guys. Just trying to bang against them, especially a guy that's as skilled as he faced against UConn, that's where he struggled. And there was a lot of missed points and missed opportunities from him this game. And I'm not saying that obviously the fault's fully on him, but at least need some more production from him. At least on the free throw line, he took care of business, 5 for 6. But he had some struggles against another big guy. Your thoughts on Ware?
Yeah, I think obviously playing against a team like UConn and you know, he's been a real bright spot to start this season too. And it's a different beast when you're going against a team like UConn. And I think you've got to be able to mix it up, right? I think the one thing he was able to do was step out and knock down a couple outside shots against, you know, guys that were bigger than him. But to your point, and I think it's a great point, is he's got to figure out a way to get some production against bigs down low too, and use his skill set and quickness and speed and ability to get to the rim. And maybe that's where we go back and look, did the offense create him enough looks? Obviously he was able to get some shots off, only going 2 for 10. So the percentage was really low. And we've seen that high to start the season. We've seen him, you know, have a really high field goal percentage. So, you know, and he's got to learn to play against bigs like that, because that's what the Big Ten is. Are they at the level of UConn? No, but you know what Big Ten play looks like. They're going to bang him. They're going to try to rough him up a little bit. So he's got to be able to play through that contact, figure out how to get his shots off on bigger, slower guys. So it was a different type of test for him. I don't want to get too hard on him, because I think he started the season really, really well. And again, we talk a lot about response, and now the response is on him. And let's see how he comes out tonight against a Louisville team that, yeah, they're not very good on paper. They gave Texas all they can handle, but they've got some length. So, you know, how does he respond tonight is a real question. And I'm hopeful that energy level is high, that effort is high, and you know, we see his numbers more where they were at to start the season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him back out tonight, because we need him, right? We need, you know, we can't have him at 11 points. He needs to be up, you know, between that 15 to 20 point mark for us to have a chance night in, night out on what we're giving up on the perimeter.
And then guards wise, I kind of want to lump mostly them fully together. Obviously, Xavier Johnson had those foul issues that he just can't have, but he's going to play with that edge. He's going to get into those foul issues, but we just need more minutes out of him. Trey Galloway, I thought, had a decent game. Again, where I lack with these guards, I'll say Cups as well into this. Gunn, I think, gets a little bit of a pass on this to a degree, because in the second half, I thought he was the only one that was doing this, but there just needs to be more speed out of them. There needs to be more attack out of them on the offensive side. There needs to be more just trying to dig down into the lane, breaking down the defense. Again, the dribble weave is just not doing what it needs to do. And Coach Tonsoni said to a degree in the assembly call post game show, and it hit a light bulb for me to a degree, where he says he notices our guards having to do a lot of coaching out there, that a lot of the guys are lost, and you can see them yelling at McKenzie where he needs to be, and trying to get guys in the right place. And that's just struggles at the beginning of the year in a team that hasn't gelled, hasn't figured themselves out or each other out. That is going to happen. But if they see that, call a quick screen and come around off that screen, or a handoff or something, get into the lane, cause some disruption, cause a opponent's defense to struggle to get back and then move that ball. I mean, that's evident by the fact that we just finished with 6 assists in this game. So the guard play has to be better, and a chance hopefully in this game coming up to be better. Your thoughts on the guards overall?
I think that last stat you nailed on the head. I think that they, I think that they played pretty solid defensively. I think they really busted their butts defensively, and obviously X coming off, dinging his ankle up a little bit in our last game. What was he able to give defensively? I thought Trey busted his butt defensively. CJ gave some good minutes defensively. But for everything they're doing defensively, offensively, it's rough right now. Specifically, you mentioned assists. Our starting guards combined for 1 assist, and when you're trying to play through your bigs, and I would even question: are we trying to play through our bigs? I'm not certain what our goal offensively is right now, but regardless, having 1 assist from your starting guards, and then you add the guards into one lump sum. I think Gabe had 2 assists. I don't think CJ had any assists. So you're getting a total of 3 assists from your group of guards. That's a significant problem. And I think it speaks more to our offensive system. And I think you mentioned Coach Tonsoni. He also said something that I agree. I think he hit the nail on the head with. He said, we're trying to rely on skill set, not a system. It's skill set over system. And it's true. It's mentioned running, it looks very similar to when we had TJD and All-American, and you could run an offense through him. And I don't know that we've got that guy right now. And so it looks very congested. It just doesn't look great right now. And it's like, what's our offensive identity? Because I don't know that anybody right now can answer that question. I think when you look at the guards statistics, it kind of speaks to that. So long way to go there. And not sure what the staff, Woody's proved to be able to, work things out with teams, right? It seems like there's at some point every season, there's a hump we have to get over. And a couple times he's helped work us over that hump. I remember X going down last year, and it was kind of fresh off some non-con losses to Kansas and Arizona. And it's like, where do we go from here, right? I think we dropped 2 Big Ten games, and all of a sudden he figured some stuff out. So what's the answer this year, right? It feels like a hump because we've had to scratch and claw against, some crappy opponents, and obviously playing UConn on a national stage, end up losing by close to 20, or can't remember what the final was. But anyway, point remains, right? We've got a little bit of a hump, I think, in certain areas to get over. And now it's like, what's the answer going to be? So guards, but back to the guards, they've got to figure out a way to give us more production, specifically offensively across the board. So we'll see what the answer is tonight.
And again, it's fine if in the end in the stat sheet, if you didn't score a lot of points yourself, but as a guard, if that's the case, then I want to see that stat number, or that assist number, way up there. Because while you didn't maybe produce for yourself, you produced for someone else, and that's a responsibility of the guards, and that's where they need to pick up their game. Looking at some stats in this game, obviously the biggest glaring one that you can look at that IU needs to clean up. Coach talked about it in the post-game press conference and everything, is those second chance points. Just 16-0. You can't have that. That's unacceptable for this IU team to not get on the glass like they should. And again, rebounds ended up 44 to 22. And right there, that's the game. Despite all the other hiccups, all the other mistakes, all the offensive struggles and everything, right there's the game for you. Obviously, not when you look at the final score of 20 points, but when you consider that a majority of this game was a 7 to 10 point deficit for IU. A lot of those second chance things were things that IU struggled with. Any stats that kind of stick out to you other than that, or your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on, I think, the two glaring ones: assists and second chance points, and we've mentioned the lack of production from guard play, I think, and then you look at the lack of production from the 3-point range. Those all continue to kind of be issues, but back to your point of offensive rebounds, I mean, to me that's an effort thing. And that an effort thing, an engagement thing, and you can even say fundamentals, not being in the right spot on the court, whatever it may be. I think it all kind of meshes together, but it's frustrating, right? Because I feel like an Indiana basketball team should play with all of those things, especially defensively, right? And with this team's, you and I talked about it, right? We talked about it to lead up the season. If there's one thing we can count on, it should be our defense. With this length, with this size, with this disruptive ability, and it's just not been there. And I think that's when your offense is struggling and your defense looks lost. That's where the frustration comes, because we should be able to stop these teams defensively. And while we have in spurts, it's just not been consistent enough for us to feel good about it. And to me, that just comes. It's an engagement thing. I think it's on the staff to figure this out quickly. There's been, Woody said after the game, this should be a wake-up call. Well, that should have come 2 games ago, when you're facing teams that have no business even competing with us, and we have to scratch and claw for a win. That should be a wake-up call. You're playing the defending national champions. All you should have to do is point to the door and say, let's go. And, so it's frustrating. That's the part I think that frustrates me, is that you're using a game against the defending national champions in Madison Square Garden as a wake-up call, right? You should be playing with every word that we mentioned: effort, enthusiasm, all the stuff that matters. And for us to be asking questions about where that stuff is, that's the challenging part. And how do you figure it out? So, Woody's coaching enough basketball that I think, if anybody can help these guys figure it out, hopefully he can. But another hump that you and I get to discuss. So we'll see how we respond tonight.
And it's equally frustrating and equally promising. It's a weird coin to have and a weird coin to flip, because it's frustrating, these struggles. It's frustrating to see them have these issues continue, and playing against a higher caliber team and still struggling those things. But it's also promising in the sense that we played against a high caliber team and we were in the fight for a good majority point of this game. And track record, like you said, when we lost X last year, the team figured it out. And I'm going to continue to have confidence that this team will figure it out, and we'll be able to find out what they can do. And having a tough non-conference like this, while equally being frustrated, is also a great opportunity. And that opportunity continues in a quick turnaround and a quick game coming up just this afternoon, this evening, 4:30. IU plays against Louisville, and Jennifer there in the chat says, will they beat Louisville today? If the Cardinals played like they did yesterday, IU basketball will come home 0-2 in the Empire Classic. And Wisconsin did struggle. Louisville did battle against Texas and looked like they played the best game that they've played this season. And IU has to bring it, but I'm looking hopeful. It's an opportunity for IU, and they've got to get out there, and we're going to learn a lot. And we don't have the luxury of a couple days to prepare for this, but we're going to learn a lot about this team in this afternoon's game. Your thoughts on this quick turnaround and what IU's going to face here against Louisville?
Can we wait on Wisconsin? I had nightmares of the Kohl Center when you dropped Wisconsin. Let's not go there yet. Place we haven't won in 20 plus years. But with Louisville, yeah, I mean, I don't even want to think about dropping a game against Louisville. I mean, with the amount of struggles that they had, not only last season, but to start this season, kind of, are they even going to keep their coach through the year? And, they're easy to point and laugh to because they're somewhat of a rival. So there's been some trash talk. And now if we turn around and, yeah, they lost on a last second shot against 18th ranked Texas. And if they, and Jennifer's exactly right. If they play like they did yesterday and we play like we did yesterday, we are going to go home 0-2. So, and I don't want to imagine what the response is going to be like, the noise, if we drop a game to Louisville. It's going to get ugly pretty fast. And, because we're pretty reactive fan base, as we all know, but you can't, I mean, with the struggles they have, and they've got some talent, it's Louisville. The one thing that they have done a little bit is recruited pretty well. So there's some skill on that roster. So if we don't come out and control the tone, and we can't find ourselves on our heels, but we've got to show something that we haven't yet this season, and that's kind of put more of a complete game together if we expect to leave New York City with the win. And you mentioned the hope, and I'll just touch on this real quick, but there's the skill set that can get this right. But we're now here in the second year of kind of playing this tougher non-conference schedule. Traveled to Kansas last season, played Arizona and Vegas last year, and now we've had UConn this year, and we're sitting at 3 pretty ugly losses. And these are groups of teams that we want to put Indiana they belong in this group of teams, right? So the one thing we need to do is start playing with these teams, right? And so that's what I want to see, right? It's great to put this schedule together, but it doesn't do a whole lot for morale when at each season, we look back on those and we lose each of these games by 20. So we've got to find a way. We get Kansas at home here in a couple of weeks. We've got to find a way to win one of these, put some momentum together. I think it starts tonight, and a lot of season left, right? It's not all doom and gloom. There's skill on this roster. So it's where the answers come from. I think that's the question right now, but hopefully we get a good response tonight.
Yep. Hopefully. And IU contingency there, from all reports that I've seen from a lot of people, is very strong there in New York, and IU travels very well, and great to see all those IU jerseys, all of that red in there in the game. And I know that Hoosier Ticket Project was able to send a few to the game as well. Talk about Hoosier Ticket Project, those that you sent in. Do you have a few tickets, people you're sending to the game tonight?
I don't know. I'd have to go with Amanda on tonight. I know the tickets we had donated were, I can't remember if they're for both sessions. She would be able to announce that. Usually they are, so we very well could have a group. She's handling this game, so we could have a group going tonight. But to have tickets donated to the Empire Classic, how awesome is that? So thankful to the IU fan that did that. And obviously with some holiday home games coming up too, we'll have a chance to send more folks to men's and women's games over the break. So if you're not using your tickets, happy to send those folks. Also doing a pretty big fundraiser right now by having a pretty big auctioning off an Airbnb stay with tickets to the women's game versus Iowa, men's game versus Nebraska, tour of Assembly Hall. All proceeds go to the project. So another cool thing, you can reach out to us on our website, our info at HoosierTicketProject.org if you're interested in purchasing some raffle tickets. So any support we can get would be tremendous. And again, as always, I appreciate you giving me the brief platform to speak on the project. It means a lot. So appreciate that.
Yeah. What a great raffle. What a great chance to win. See 2 great programs, have your stay covered, and not to be overlooked, that tour that you're going to get of Assembly Hall. That's incredible. Something that a lot of people don't get to see and everything. But guys, that's going to do it on this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thanks for being here with us. Again, Indiana in action today at 4:30. That game is going to be played on ESPNU. So please check out that game. IU has a chance to come out and answer a few questions and get another W out there for us. Thanks for being with us. Thank you to those in the chat. Good to see you, Nick and Jennifer, there active with us. As always, follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you can find out more information about the show, when we're going to go live. Follow Martha at the Mop Lady. We'll be back again tomorrow morning to react to this Louisville game. Thanks for being with us, guys. Thanks for those listening in the podcast streams. Until then, guys, go out there, have yourself a wonderful day, and let's go Hoosiers.